Oh boy, do I got Bieber fever. Shane Bieber made his first start as a Toronto Blue Jay last Friday in Miami, and boy, what a gem of a start it was for him and the Toronto Blue Jays. Shane Bieber, coming off Tommy John surgery, hasn't pitched for over a year, but last Friday was a night to remember for Shane Bieber. Honestly, the Philadelphia Phillies GM, he seized on his opportunity to get 2.5 years of one of the best relievers in baseball in exchange for just a pair of prospects. I mean, honestly, depending how the prospects play out in the future, if I'm grading this trade right now, it's a steal for the Phillies. The NHL All-Star Game was in Toronto in February of 2024, and the NBA All-Star Game was in Toronto in 2016. And just seeing from those two All-Star games, the buzz around the city was unreal. Sports fans were in the city, and it was truly buzzing. And not only is it great for the city, but this also helps boost a lot of small businesses, bars, restaurants, and it's just great for the city. So hopefully the Jays can get it in 2028, and who knows, maybe we'll see a swing off in 2028 in Toronto. That'd be pretty sick, eh, Nick? Yeah, even if it's just like I don't know, like a fun ceremony or something, or kind of like more like kind of like a fan festival atmosphere where fans can kind of engage with the players going. I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. There should be something, but I think getting like a little pre-tournament game thing going between the nations, no thanks. Yeah, being a middling team in the MLB is really tough. It's a really tough situation to be in, especially ahead of the MLB trade deadline. You don't wanna oversell, but you don't wanna overbuy, where you're giving up the farm, especially a young team like the Royals. The Kansas City Royals, they're a young team and a middling team. I don't think they should sell, and I don't think they should add. Here's why. Because you have young guys on your team that don't have playoff experience. You might not make the playoffs, but you could be playing meaningful games in September, in August, and that experience really helps grow the young players and what to expect when the time does come that they're in a playoff game, right? You don't want to overreact. You just kind of want to let it play out, see where the season goes, and then depending on how the season ends, you can sell after that, or you can add after that, whether it's via trade or via free agency. I think the Red Sox could honestly go for a guy like O'Hearn if these trade rumors are actually true with him. The AL East is very competitive, and I think if you're in the mix to make the playoffs in a division that hard, you have to be buyers. You have to be buyers if you want to have a shot at winning the division or making the playoffs. The AL East is clearly the hardest division in baseball. You got the Jays, who are competitive. You got the Yankees, who are competitive. And you got the Red Sox competitive. All three of those teams are in a playoff spot. So it's going to be very hard for the Orioles to fight their way back in the wild card spot before the end of the season. So I think if I'm the general manager of the Baltimore Orioles, I'm not selling the young core they've built. I'm not trading Adley Rutschman. I'm not trading Gunnar Henderson. I'm not trading Holiday. I'm not trading Felix Bautista. But the Orioles should be looking at trading veterans on expiring contracts. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good pickup for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dakota Joshua is a big guy who crashes the net. He forechecks well. He'll mix in a scrap once in a while. And last year, he fought Brady Tkachuk and Michael McCarron. He can also chip in with some offense. And I believe fans will enjoy watching this guy who's gritty, who cares, and will do anything to win. And I can't wait to see what Dakota Joshua brings to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They got to go out and find a number one goaltender for them. Obviously, going into the playoffs with Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard, it's not going to be an option for them next season. If you have a guy like John Gibson going up against Sergei Bobrovsky, don't you think the Edmonton Oilers would have had a better shot at beating the Florida Panthers this past season? I think they would have for sure. Obviously, they need another forward, which I think they will get July 1st in free agency. But again, the Edmonton Oilers are very cap tight with only having roughly just more than $10 million to spend this offseason, so they're going to need to figure that out too. But major changes, goaltender, and a couple forwards definitely has to be done. There's no doubt Brad Treliving remolded this defensive core for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he did an exceptional job. Some impactful adds that Brad Treliving made with his time with the Toronto Maple Leafs on the blue line is Chris Tanev, just a shot-blocking machine this year. Obviously adding Simon Benoit from free agency a couple years ago. His physicality and jumping up in the rush was unbelievable this year and last year. And also Simon Benoit this year consistently earned himself a spot in the lineup game in and game out, which is awesome to see. Obviously, Jake McCabe this year was awesome. Shutdown specialist with Chris Tanev. Obviously, the OEL signing was unbelievable. He is such a strong skater and well-rounded. And in regards to Morgan Riley, he struggled early on in the year, but finally found some consistency in the second half of the season. Another great player this year for the Toronto Maple Leafs was Matthew Knies. He found his way and had exceptional development this year. He was strong in the corners and in front of the net, and his speed and size is unmatched on this roster, and he's only going to get better as he's only 22 years old. Right, so hopefully the Leafs can sign him on a good contract and have him next year. Hunter brothers, Dale and Mark, they are a huge reason why the London Knights have had so much success, and they've definitely turned the program into a hockey powerhouse in the Ontario Hockey League. You know, their success stems from a combination of strong player scouting, player development, and a close relationship with the London community, which is always great to see. I mean, those two guys, they have been instrumental in developing a strong winning culture that prepares players for the NHL level. They've developed a program where guys coming from NCAA, Europe, top unsigned OHL draft prospects, they choose and want to play for the Knights when wanting to choose which junior club they go to develop themselves into NHL caliber players. And so credit to the Hunter brothers who turned this Knights organization around since taking it over. I think the last time this organization under the Hunter brothers missed the playoffs was like early 2000s in the OHL, where there's always a lot of turnaround after each season with guys going to the NHL or the professional leagues in Europe. A lot of teams go from being a contender to bottom of the barrel, but these guys have consistently kept the Knights a contending team for a long time. Huge congrats to the Hunter brothers on that. The Blue Jays are finally playing their best baseball of the season, and it's definitely showing. The Toronto Blue Jays capped off an impressive homestand in which they won 6 out of 7 games with a 9-1 win over the Philadelphia Phillies last Thursday. That hot streak has pushed the team into a playoff position, as they're now actually in the third wildcard spot in the American League. The pitching has been good, allowing them to compete in games. The offense has woken up and driven in some clutch runs. They've been versatile in driving in runs, obviously hitting home runs and hitting whether it's a double or single to win games. I definitely think this is a sustainable way to win games going into the latter half of the season in obviously the rest of June, July, August, September. You see a guy like Addison Barger, like this guy's been so clutch for the Jays in their recent success. Like this guy's punched his way into the starting lineup with hard swing of power and the versatility that takes him from third base to the outfield with the hardest thing of all for any big leaguer on the rise. Addison Barger's month of May was something unreal. He hit 4 home runs, knocked in 12 runs, and batted .292 with an OPS of 887. Hopefully when Anthony Santander comes back, he starts hitting at a consistent level. Obviously, he has power and the ability to hit a lot of home runs. Lalonde noted that the Leafs run a top-down penalty kill compared to the Florida Panthers' high-pressure diamond that we see now in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I'd imagine this is something he would look to shift and mold in Toronto, as we saw with his time in Tampa Bay. Like Tampa Bay played a high-pressure diamond, in-your-face penalty kill, not giving you time and space to really set up or get shots through. So I'd imagine we'll see this kind of penalty kill tactic instilled within this Toronto team. Derek Lalonde, he's a high IQ hockey guy. He knows what he's doing, and he's gotten the results in the past with Tampa Bay, and so I'm excited to see what he can do with Toronto. Bill Zito has done an absolute unreal job with the Florida Panthers. Him and his pro scouting staff have done an unbelievable job. You see depth guys they've picked up like Nate Schmidt, Gadjovich, AJ Greer. These guys are all contributing in this current Stanley Cup playoffs, and just what a job he's done. Also, he doesn't get enough credit for training for Seth Jones. He took a big risk acquiring Seth Jones' contract. Seth Jones obviously was not doing well on a struggling Chicago Blackhawks team, but since coming to the Florida Panthers has been a force to reckon with on the back end on that blue line. Also acquiring Brad Marsh, just a heart and character guy that you need to win during the playoffs. So during my time on the podcast as a co-host, we've had some unbelievable fun debates among the three of us, but one that kind of sticks with me the most, and I'd say was my favorite debate, was our debate on who would win the Jim Gregory NHL Manager of the Year award. You know, the nominees from this past year that we debated about was Bill Zito, Jim Neal, and Kevin Cheveldayoff, and debating on who was going to win that, we all kind of took different perspectives, and we really had to take a deep dive into what moves these general managers made to make their teams contenders and their team better. And hearing different perspectives on the three different general managers was really fun and really insightful for myself and for the listeners. Anytime the three of us, and myself included, can take a deep dive into general managers, the trades they've made, the signings they've made, and really understanding how it made their team better, it's something I really enjoy to look into. So if I had to pick one of my favorite debate moments this past summer, it'd have to be our debate on who would win the NHL Manager of the Year award. It's just something I really enjoy talking about, debating about, and I'm sure there will be more of those debates and discussions in the future on this podcast. With the summer coming to an end here at Spirited Sports, my time here as a co-host is over. I want to thank everyone here at Spirited Sports for allowing me to be part of the podcast this summer. A big thanks goes to Nick Cantoli, who invited me on the podcast as a special guest earlier on in the year, and then providing me with the awesome opportunity to be a co-host for the summer of 2025. I also want to give a big thanks to everyone who takes time out of their busy day to listen to Spirited Sports. Your support is what drives us to create the best possible content for you guys every week. So a big thank you to the listeners. To Nick and Toli, you guys were nothing but first class to work with every week. The amount of hard work they put in behind the scenes to make sure this podcast is running smoothly and getting to the listeners every week is unbelievable. And just seeing how hard they worked this past summer, I know with their work ethic, there's nothing but great things to come in the future for Spirited Sports, and I know they're going to drive this podcast to the next level. Now, for myself, this is not a goodbye forever to Spirited Sports. This is just a see you later. I still look forward to being on the podcast as a special guest throughout the year. So once again, I just want to thank the listeners for taking time out of their day and listening to the podcast every week. It means the world to all three of us. And I want to thank Nick and Toli once again for giving me this awesome opportunity. The experience I got from this throughout the summer was unreal, and I know this podcast is going to grow even more throughout the year. So for one last time, thank you to the listeners. Thank you to Nick and Toli for giving me this awesome opportunity. Working with them and putting the podcast together every week never felt like a job. It felt like a privilege. So thank you.